Good evening. IT Support and Digital Communications Working Group meeting. We've got a number of items to cover this evening. In terms of apologies, the only person not here is Councillor Morehouse, but he has let me know he's on his way and he will get here as soon as he can, and therefore should be here before we finish. Okay. Have we got any declarations of interest this evening from anybody?
I think the only declaration of interest I have is that the equipment, but that's, I think, accepted as part of what we're doing.
So it's not from your own company, is it?
No,
I think we're all right.
Not making any money out of it.
The next item is to agree the minutes from the previous meeting, so I can go and open those if you just want to hold on. I'll try and file open. I'm not going to miss this right. I know it is. Apologies. I will get into the swing in time. So these went out just a couple of days after the last meeting, so there's been enough time to look through them. Did anybody have any comments on the actual minutes themselves?
No.
No? Okay with us? So we can just have a look at the actions that were logged last time and just update against any that are still open. Simon, have you got any further update around the sharing of information within the group?
Well, we cover that a little bit later on in the minutes, in the agenda, so whether I should...
Happy to leave that till then, that's fine. That's fine, Simon. My tech.
Yes. Sorry, no updates yet, but it's on my list for next week.
Fine, that's good. Moving on. Ownership. So this is right to, yes, full ownership of a Facebook page for Town Council on. Jill?
Yes, so I am assured that I do have full ownership.
Yep.
Just haven't had the opportunity yet to explore the page and look at how to tackle that.
Yep. So maybe we can pick that up offline and
yes, please.
Get that up and running will be good.
Thank you.
Another one, Jill, sorry about this. This was relating to the assets register.
Yes, sorry, no progress on that to date.
Okay. I think
try and tackle that next week.
Yeah, some of when we look at the IT support tender, there are questions in there, so we'll be able to answer those by looking at the asset register as well, I think.
Yeah. Can I say I have actually seen the asset register briefly this week when I had a session with the RFO. So it is there, and the items are on a spreadsheet. They just need extracting out.
Good. Those last two were closed at the last meeting. Closed. So the last few that are open. Potential bidders. Have we issued the invitations to tender?
Yes. Also on Monday.
Excellent. And there was a question about maybe following it up with calls.
Yes.
You will be doing that.
On my calendar tomorrow.
Yeah, fantastic. I agreed to write to the Town Council detailing the timeline for future delivery, and I did that. So that went out to all councillors, and that maps out the meetings we're having and also the escalation points for the various documents we're working on at the moment. Then Simon, the next action is yours around a link to the video.
Yep.
Do that.
Yep. Multiple videos so far. We had the I forget how many meetings we had last night's meeting as well on video.
Okay.
I can share that.
And what's the feedback you've been getting?
From Jill. Let you give your own feedback.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think it was much improved on obviously the first trial,
Yes.
and I think this is definitely the way to go with these devices, and I didn't see any problems with using it at all.
No.
Perfectly acceptable.
I'll expand on that later.
Yes. Should we close this action then? Do you think it's subsumed into?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah. We'll close that one. And then another one for you, Simon. This was an options analysis structured into categories such as voice, videoing, hosting, storage, complexity, etc. So this would form part of the presentation.
Yes. Yeah.
So still open.
Yes.
And then it will come out after this meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually the dates are in here. So it's
That's the 21st, I think, is it?
yeah, analysis to come to here today. That might be a verbal analysis, mightn't it?
Verbal.
Yeah. Then finance and general purposes for the 18th, so it needs to be ready about the 11th or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So that stays open, and that might be and that's all of the actions.
Sorry, can we just go back, because those were the matters arising from previous minutes.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of actions within the body of the minutes themselves.
Shout them out.
So I would say on item, there was an action on Jill to contact soon after the invitations to confirm their intention to bid. We've just discussed that, so that was in there. Oh, sorry, yes, these actions have been covered, haven't they, in the table? My apologies.
No, that's right. Okay, so we can move on from the minutes. Okay, I'll close that down. Back to the agenda. Right, so the first main item is the IT support managed service invitation to tender, which has been done, but it still has some work on it in terms of gaps of information. So if I open that up now, I can show you what we've got. And basically, this template has built on what we learned through the website template. So I think, Peter, as you mentioned about, it might have been around including a length of the contract.
Yeah.
And if it was, that has been done.
Right.
So what we've gone back to the website tender, we've built that in before it went out.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-year contract with a view to a 3rd year. So it's basically a level playing field in terms of the prices we get in. They'll know the duration that we're looking at. Okay. And if we actually go through the tender template stuff, so as a document, it looks similar to the website one, same introduction. It talks about the Guildhall, but this is where the assets will become important, Jill, in terms of how many devices we've actually got.
Yes.
But in terms of the first question I've got is, do we have a usually opening time for the building?
Yes. So when you say usually open, this is what I wanted to clarify. Do you mean physically open, or do you mean somebody on the reception desk?
It's a good question. So I would suggest it would either be open on the desk, or, well, let's just make sure, or staff are present.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is background information in any case, so it's what you're most comfortable with, what in terms of this building being open, what you want in there.
So when we say staff are present, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m, but I would add a caveat is that the reception visitor information is open from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. So that's why I wanted to clarify with you.
We can add that in, can't we? So
if
I make a note of that, so 9 to 5.
Yes.
It's staffed.
Yes.
And then for the visitor centre it is
10 till 1.
And is
that's
that
Monday to Thursday.
Monday to Thursday?
Yeah. But obviously 9 till 5 is Monday to Friday.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I'll build that in.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the next question was the number of staff members that could be accommodated within the office space. Is there a figure that you would comfortably be happy with?
Probably 2 currently, I would say.
Well, I think
Sorry,
you
not
should,
space, sorry.
you
I
should
think-
reconsider.
Yes,
Sorry,
I think we should.
I thought you meant people who are physically here, but you mean
No.
space for. Sorry,
Yes, yes.
sorry. 5 probably.
Mm.
5.
Is
Yeah.
that including reception?
No, that's not including reception. 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
yes,
We're talking
sorry.
about museum as well.
No, this
No.
is the Guildhall
Okay.
itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can separately,
Yeah.
we talk about the museum elsewhere,
Yeah.
but let's not lose that one.
Okay.
Do we have printers?
Yes, we do. 1.
One.
And can I ask, we probably need to check who that is leased from. I presume we've got a managed print service.
It is actually owned, I'm told, outright now.
All right, okay.
And is this? And what I would ask is if I'll send it. You have got this in any case,
Yes.
but if you could review it in
Yes.
in peace and quiet would be good. But most staff use a desktop computer.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong. But we do also have some laptop computers used by staff.
My understanding is we've all got laptops. I haven't seen any desktop
No
computers.
desktops.
Yeah.
Okay, no desktops.
Sorry, I thought the RFOs had a desktop computer.
Yeah, I thought that.
I've not seen it physically in the building, but
It's on a desk.
Karen, is Karen got a desktop?
Cameras is on the laptop, isn't it? I'll check tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
check
okay.
tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure it's a desktop computer.
Okay, I'll check with Karen.
Sorry, Jeff.
I've resolved about SharePoint. Actually, we're not hosted physically somewhere as such. It's SharePoint itself is
Yes.
its own hosting environment.
Yes.
So, museum. I think I need to build in terms of staff, it's actually only one permanent member of staff, isn't it?
Yes.
And then in the document, we, as I said earlier, we are going for a contract of initial period of 2 years, ability to extend to a third year if required. Then we've got the tender should include, and some of this is built from particular feedback you gave the first time,
Yeah.
Peter. So there's some familiar inclusions.
Yeah. So yes, it is tender introduction and it's also tender instructions as well, because we're kind of instructing them to
Yeah, yeah.
to include the method statement, you know, and other things.
Yeah.
What I was wanting to say about this ITT when I looked at it, invitation to tender. Normally, in my line of thinking, we've got the introduction and the instructions to the tenderer. We would also normally set out the scope. What is the scope of service? You know, to provide a server or to provide X number of PCs, and list those out so that they can price them, and then if they price them that way, we can compare tenders. The specification tends to be more about the technical insight into, you know, the size of the computers. The computers will be, you know, modern age or whatever.
We're not asking them to provide any hardware.
All right, okay.
So at the moment, the contract we've got in place is completely agnostic in terms of hardware.
Right.
What we have in terms of the current provider is, should we need to buy some hardware,
Yeah.
they are available to consult and may go and find a price for an item for us, but there is not a contractual arrangement in place for them to provide hardware. And my expectation is that we won't be doing that in the next contract, because basically then the costs of contracts do start. Yeah, in terms of this.
All right.
Yeah. But it does flag up one key question is about, which we haven't really answered as a council, is whether we want to go for completely agnostic about what device you use. Do we want to be tendering for provision of Office 365 as a solution that anybody can install on their own devices?
I would have thought so, because it's just so common.
So that's one way we could go, but we need to get the council answer to that. We can recommend that, can't
Yes, we can. Yes.
But if we're going to, let's have a look. We're going to the F&GP committee on the 18th of September. Would that be within their gift to give an answer, or does it need to go to the town council?
Terms of reference for F&GP. So what was the question you
So
wanted
the
to ask?
question is, you can be just given
Yes.
the Office 365 solution
Yes.
and use it on a designated device which
Yes.
could be supplied
Yes.
by the council, but equally could also be your own device. So it's agnostic to where the device is originated from.
Yeah.
So for us, some of us would prefer to use it on our own devices, but there may be the odd council that says, actually, for me, I just want to be given a device with everything loaded on it.
I think if we can take that to F&GP, I think the terms of reference would permit that decision, but whether or not the committee would be happy with making that decision in light of there might be councillors that are not on that committee that might have other views. I think that's something to debate at the final decision.
So if we take it there as a recommendation, what it will do, and within any report I give to them, I'll outline by taking to the town council, it may well build in some delay to being able to grant. Okay, Mark?
Yes, good.
Excellent. We're just going through the invitation to tender on the IT support contract. Okay. So what I'm going to suggest is that you've had sight of this already, but also then if I give maybe another week's and do it the same way we did for the website, so people can feed in comments to me, and then we can then baseline it as a group by correspondence. But in terms of the actual specification, as I said, key things around assets need to be built in, so Jill, I'll be looking to you to answer those. There are some questions about whether we have any other non-Office 365 applications. So, for example, whether Karen has any for finance.
Well, I spoke with Karen this week, and what she was saying is that we need to have a system which will host the finance system, and that then brings in a number of different options. But I think she gave me a list of 3 different finance systems. So I think the specification should read, the IT server will be capable of hosting one of the preferred finance packages provided by one of those 3 companies, and then that then begs the question about the backup. Is the information backed up just on the server that's provided to the council, or is it cloud-based or whatever?
Cloud-based. We are cloud-based at the moment.
Right.
So all of our data is stored in SharePoint.
Right. So we need to check that all of these systems
can be
backed up into that.
And additionally support the POS system that the museum uses.
Do you know POS?
Point of sale.
Right.
Well, we have a point of sale system at the reception as well.
The museum does have a server that it uses, so I'll need to check whether all data is backed up on there in terms of the point of sale as well. I'm not sure.
Okay, but there is a payment mechanism at reception, isn't there, Jill? So there is a point of sale.
Yes, there is.
terms of the tender, I noticed we've got down there payment terms. Are we stipulating that they should have or state their CRM, their VAT number, their UTR, if applicable? Seems to be more and more standard practice these days to enable credit checks at the very least.
So are you identifying that as information they should supply as part of their bid?
Yeah.
So, would you run through those?
Yes, so CRM, company registration number, UTR, which is the unit tax reference. A lot of companies now have that and identify it as part of their documentation.
Yep.
And the VAT number.
Yep. Do all that in? Sure. And then we have a number of iPads now, and then again there is an issue here to be decided because of course a lot of the iPads are getting towards end of life, so we need to make a decision around what we want to do regards that as well, Joe.
Yes.
The existing iPads, they're part of the asset register.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So I think, as you pointed out earlier, there needs to be a clear decision here whether or not we're going to continue with people having a device,
Yeah.
or whether people are happy to go to using their own device and two-factor authentication,
Yeah.
and you know that route.
Yeah.
And I think you're right that there is a clear crossroads now where that decision needs to be made, because these are failing, as we know that there've been 2 or 3 failed
Yes.
recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a bit of an issue at the moment.
And I think that's particularly for the councillors as opposed to the staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the staff, it's still standard solution provided by the council.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I certainly don't. I mean, there was an iPad, I'm told, there in the office that previous person used. I haven't touched that. That's actually now been utilised for a councillor because we needed a spare device.
Yeah.
All I use is the council laptop that I've been given. Yeah.
Just trying to see if there's any more key questions. Yeah, also, Jill, I was going to ask you about out-of-hours service. I'm not sure there is an out-of-hours service now, but you'll be able to tell me.
So, as in IT support out of our service?
Yes, so somebody's working on a Saturday and...
Yeah. No, there is currently nothing that is something we could call upon now, because there is the cut-off point at 5 PM on a Friday.
Okay, and the question is, do we want to build that in as a provision at an additional cost? The problem then is you haven't got control over somebody at home deciding that they feel that they need some support, and the cost is incurred without consultation possibly with you.
I can't see a situation where we would need any support, because usually if something were to happen at a weekend, it's usually not something that's urgent that needs to be dealt with there and then, wait until Monday.
Okay. Everybody else okay with that?
Yeah, it was just kind of begging the question in my mind, if everybody's using their own devices and they have a problem with their own device and then decide to call the helpline, and the problem is not actually related to, you know, something that the council business, but it's related to something to do with their own device. There is really kind of an interest there.
So what the support is, if we went down the route of maintaining on, you know, the Office 365 facility on your own device, that's all the support you would get is around Office 365 and it working. If the device was not functioning, it would be down to the individual to address.
Right.
So that is a consequence of taking that option.
Yeah.
Any views?
Well, I think personally, the cost now of computers and standalone laptops is relatively small. It would be better, I think, you know, to segregate people's private, because of data protection and
Yeah.
all sorts of things. If I've got council business on my computer and somebody is in my house, be it my wife or
Yeah.
child or whatever, and they see it or they have access to my passwords or anything like that, we're technically in breach. And so I think we're better off, from a security point of view, having devices provided by the council.
I think in principle that's valid completely.
Yeah.
The issue then that falls to the council is about the cost that will arise from the refresh of the hardware. Some of us have actually not got any hardware at the moment because it isn't available. So, you know, and that's going to just multiply over
Well, this,
short term.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I do understand that there, within the current budget at the moment, there is provision, and that monies have been carried over from previous years. So there is budgetary provision for this, but the RFO can kind of clarify the exact amount.
Okay, so that's I think that's an action. If we could, Jim, if you could ask Karen to provide that
Yes.
information. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Built-in response times, they're fairly industry standard, so yep. Cloud-based solution, because we don't want to be using a physical server ourselves. With all the requirements that we want.
Yes,
Yeah.
include the RFO requirement system,
Yeah,
finance system
Yeah,
requirements.
yeah, yeah. So we would be asking them to provide Office 365 to us. If the RFO is going down the route of looking licenses for financial packages, is that going to be separately bought?
Yes.
So that wouldn't form part of the tender
No.
contract?
No.
Okay.
And just to say at this point,
Yeah.
these licenses, there are multiple emails that I've come across that have been, you know, created over a number of years, far in excess of what is required. So I think with terms of licensing, we should only be paying for a license if we need the email. I don't see the point of having emails saying bookings at Sandwich Town Council,
No.
weddings at Sandwich Town Council. I mean, I could go on, there's a whole list that I've found. I don't see the point of having all these emails that possibly people don't understand anymore even exist. So I think it's a great opportunity to
clean them up.
clean them up,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, with the Office 365, I understand that includes Teams.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to.
Yeah.
Well, we can call that out as part of our
Yeah.
side. I think that's reasonable. Include Teams in that, fine. So yes, and then I just had a couple of questions at the bottom, but I think I do know the answer. But I just wanted to check, Jill. The CCTV, that's not part of the IT support contract. We talked about integration of software. Recording meetings is separate.
Yes.
These are the things that we flagged up in the original requirements exercise. And then a generic management information system. Well, I don't think we'll be asking our support provider to provide that to us.
Yeah.
No.
Can I also suggest that with regard to recordings of meetings, this is regarded as essentially a sort of medium-term solution, and that we can review this in the medium term.
Okay. Right. So if I'll do some work out of this meeting on this document. I'll do that by early next week, and then if I give people say 5 working days to have a look at it again, that will still be fine within our overall timeline. That's okay. On the agenda, I think the next one might be the actual evaluation document. So let's have a look. So I sent out the evaluation criteria, and this could also be used for the website evaluation criteria because it's a standard approach. I did some investigations across a number of examples, and this for me sort of drew out probably the best bits, and so hopefully it's accepted to you. So if I just open it up. We've built into the tender that we're going to making an evaluation against quality and price, but price will not necessarily drive the final decision on who we choose as the provider. And in terms of evaluation document, it suggests a spread of scores for each of the component parts of the quality aspects. I've had a chance to look at this, but the spread includes relevant experience, past performance, technical skills, management and resources, and methodology. Now we can play around with the percentages if you want, but I found a number of examples that were close to or were the same as this. If anybody feels anything that really think, no, surely you've got that wrong, we can discuss that.
I think the only one that I would add is gut feeling. Yeah, but I don't think that comes as a technical material.
Yeah. Can you do business with this organisation?
Yes. And then from that, you then score each of the bids that you receive.
This is where the question starts to explode, because how do you know exactly for the questions or the criteria above, what constitutes average and what's the trigger point to get into good? So if you just go back, to the management and resources.
Yep.
Okay. So what's excellent? What's adequate? What's good?
Yep.
What are the features that you're looking for to be able to attribute those to the score?
So do you think there's another level of detail needed, Peter?
I do, yeah, basically. Just because when you've got these subjective things, it would normally be that you get an adjudication panel of 2 or 3 people who would actually kind of review the tenders and give them a score, and then when those individuals have done that, there would be a moderator, because somebody might score an excellent and somebody might score it inadequate. So there is a need to just make sure that somebody hasn't misunderstood or whatever. So there is this need for kind of moderation, for a moderator to do the work. So yes, I think against each of these criteria, relevant experience, well, to be quite honest, they shouldn't be on the bid list if they haven't got relevant experience. Do you understand what I'm saying? But Mark was talking earlier about credit checks and financial checks. How do we build that in, and those types of things? The technical skills, what do we mean by the technical skills? Is it because they've got their own research and development department, or is it because they're kind of capable? So I do think we need to be clear about how we actually score them, because companies may challenge.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion how we go from there to what you described?
Well, I think I think, to be quite honest, it's a kind of a brainstorming session.
Okay.
It's something that maybe we can do once the bid is out, but we do need to kind of have a bit more detailed criteria to be able to evaluate and separate the bids.
Is there any merit to getting reference from other customers?
Well, that's all part of relevant experience, and that's a good example. if they willingly offer a reference, well then you could give them five percentage points.
We
for
have
that.
asked for 2 references within, so there are things I think some of that, if we extrapolate each of those out
Yeah.
with the next level of questions, we might find some of those things are a prerequisite in terms of their bids,
Right.
but we need to have a list below it.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that just looking at the timeline, should we have another session of this group that just focuses on pulling that apart and having that next level of detail? Would that be acceptable?
It's a big thing.
Yes.
I mean, I would also add things like proximity.
Yep.
Can we deal with
Yep.
somebody in Scotland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will look to have another meeting maybe in a couple of weeks' time where we just have that just as a focus, if that's acceptable.
Okay. Do we need to think if that meeting should be a confidential meeting?
I think probably, I'll take Jill's advice, but it might be a case of, so this is going to be our evaluation criteria.
Yes.
My expectation was that when we do evaluate the bids,
Yes.
that will be
Yes.
confidential.
Yeah.
Yes.
So shouldn't the tool that we're going to use similarly be the same?
Yes.
Are
Definitely.
you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Good suggestion, Peter, thank you.
Just thinking of something, may or may not be relevant. SIPS, Chartered Institute of Personal Supply, is now encouraging people, companies on their supply questionnaires to address things like slave labour, gender pay gaps, whether that's relevant to this or not, debatable, but
I would
Food
say
for thought.
yes, because we're even looking at, well, we're being pressured from certain areas to look at that in our share dealing.
yeah,
If we're going to
Yes.
choose shares based on that sort of
Yeah,
criteria.
I've certainly asked those questions of the session we've got
Yeah.
in the next town council meeting or just before it. So do you have any specific example? I mean, that's sort of nebulous as such. Can you expand it to some very specific things that you could ask of an IT support provider who might be local, that might have 100
well,
employees?
gender pay gap could very well be a pretty relevant feature. That's becoming more and more commonplace. Companies are expected now to give a statement on their gender pay gaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
In accordance with what SIPS is recommending.
So Mark, are you happy to go away and just, if you've got
Think about it.
yeah, think about it and give me some examples of what the questions we would want to ask. This would affect the tender itself, because we would want to include those as questions. Yeah. Okay, and then we can obviously evidence it when we do the criteria. Okay.
And also with hardware, slave labour, with hardware, we're getting hardware that is has no element of slave labour within its own
Yeah.
supply chain.
We won't be getting hardware.
Right.
I don't think.
Question already.
Unless we change everything. Okay. Then the price criteria, which will take also 50% of the weighting.
Yeah, I just think we need to be clear about that as well,
Okay.
because there are certain things like training or
Yes.
help desk or whatever. So if you wanted to say a help desk, we will assume that we will have 50 hours of help desk a year or whatever they've built in, and then there may be a rate, or it may be that they're offering training packages where they would physically come here and train people in the use of 365 or whatever it is, and that's a one-off cost,
It is.
whereas others are kind of recurring costs. So we just need to make sure that we've got a proper weighted basket to be able to compare the price.
And if they offer a discretionary service, that would need to be evaluated as to whether it's any good or not.
terms of their delivery.
Yeah, some of these free training sessions are
Yes.
not worth the time.
So within the document we have got performance reviews. Now that could feature in that certainly, but there might be something very specific around training, mightn't there?
Yes, it's death by PowerPoint.
Yes, yes. So I think we can, taking your point from the earlier bit, Peter, we can probably expand on that in the session as well. Okay, so it's a very slim document, so it sounds like we'll be able to build it up to a much bigger document next time. It's interesting because what I've built is very comparable with tender evaluation documents that exist elsewhere.
Yeah.
So they haven't gone through the
Yeah. Well, now that we're out of the EU, I'm sure Mark will kind of confer that with public bodies. I don't think the value of the contract would be terribly significant, but there's a lot less regulation
yes.
now that we're not part of the EU from a procurement point of view.
Right, okay, so I will set up another meeting that will just focus on the evaluation criteria. And then the next item, I believe, could be Simon's?
Yes.
Yes, so this is the options analysis of solutions for the live streaming of council meetings.
Right, if I can just run through what I've done so far. This is the essentially the third test, or fourth if you include the first one had two ways forward, one with the camera and one with the laptop.
Yep.
And this is including the various gizmos that I proposed that I wanted to experiment with. Fundamentally, we have 5 microphones.
Yep.
They're low power in the sense that they don't pick up a wide area. So hopefully we're not picking up too much of what's going on outside, apart from the particularly loud areas. They basically connect through, so you'll see 3 microphones and 3 receivers.
Oh, okay.
Although we can have 5 on this system, and that basically connects in, and it just runs as a webcam. It's the microphone of the webcam. I ran this yesterday with the planning. We'll take note of which meeting was about. Ran this yesterday with planning. Jill, as she said earlier, found that the noise was better, and that's the challenge we've got, is getting the to my mind, it's noise first, image second.
Yep.
As long as people can hear what's going on, and then they can work out later. Single camera, so we would have to decide where the camera went in the larger council meetings. Going on from there, it's the management of it. It is, to my mind, a simple setup, in that what I do is I log into YouTube, I say I'm making a webcam, it asks me for the title, is it with children? No. Do I want to allow people to make comments immediately? I say no. And that's advice from Christina. Worked. Well, I think it has. And let's go battery. And then you just basically press go. The system has a blue light to say you're being recorded. And each of these is recharged through a USB connector, and that is there are 10 of them, or 10 sockets, so we can plug 10 devices in. So they all work independently. And this particular test is to see if it picks up things, noise from the table. And I think in this case we'll see how well it's picking up Mark's comments as well. So how close it has to use for something. So what I will do, I will put this online tonight, I hope. It's online now, so you can watch it live.
Mhm.
When it's stopped, YouTube then processes and creates a film of it. Essentially much the same as Christine was doing. So I think going forward, the decisions will have to be how this is managed, who does what. And I'm not going to even suggest who does what or how. But making up a cheat sheet will be easy. At the meeting that we'll be having where it's presented to the finance or general purposes, I propose to run through this, have this running at the same time, and also present what I've done before and the other options, which is £1,500 on a dedicated camcorder, which I would propose has this connected, and going the next stage up, which would be emulating what Ramsgate have done, which is £5,000, which I personally think, aiming for the noise, ours might be better. I need to test those. So as I say, I'll write up the options, which can then eventually go on to the main town council meeting and I hope decide.
You mentioned last night that microphones couldn't go directly onto the tables. The system that you used last night with the crude pieces of paper to provide some insulation, how did that work?
Well, you can hear them. I'll be circulating this one as well. I'll circulate both. I should have circulated last night's to all of us before. Jules included.
I would imagine these pieces of foam would be much better.
They are a lot better. And the development of the system will be, I will be replacing the toothpicks with lollipop sticks.
Okay.
So that the clips connect better. So we move on. Yesterday was folded bits of paper, which they kept on falling over. So we live and learn. But I think personally this is the way forward. And as I mentioned earlier, I think this should be regarded as a medium-term solution, so that we can look at developing further, depending on how this is going.
And if the polystyrene blocks don't work, then next they will be a PU foam block, wouldn't it?
I think so, yes. I mean, we could try all sorts, but I think this is going to be it, because it would, the paper solution worked quite well.
Yeah.
I think that was.
So as we stand at the moment, Simon, its intention is to go to the Finance Committee meeting on the 18th of September. To be able to turn that around to then go to the Town Council meeting on the 25th
Of
September.
Yeah.
Because of lead-in times, that would
Yes.
really mean it's one report that could serve both meetings, I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
Getting the endorsement on the Monday at the Finance meeting to enable it to be ready for the Tuesday, the next day, to go forward to the Town Council meeting.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable
With that, but also we should be able to provide a full council meeting trial.
Yes.
If the councillor prefers to do that on the 21st of August. So, and it's easy to do.
Okay.
We've just lost. So
Yes. Yeah.
We're relying on you, Christine. I brought the RV, but I think it's a test.
Okay. And within that, would you be including cost analysis?
Yes, I can provide costs. I mean, basically the costs and of the system, and it will be whether we use an existing laptop or we buy a laptop.
Yes.
And I think it's a very simple decision by the council, depending on how dedicated they want it.
Yeah.
Personally, I just go for using an existing laptop. But that's.
Thank you, Simon.
Great work, Simon.
Good work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very
Really
good.
good.
Yeah, we're going to get there very reasonably soon.
Yeah.
Christina's very happy. Good. So the last item of the agenda was just to really just look back on the terms of reference briefly, just to see whether there are any significant areas that we said we would do that we haven't picked up yet, and just to see, it's really talking about the longevity of this working group, because actually delivering the tenders, documents and the evaluation criteria alongside it and the live streaming might actually enable us to then say the working group has delivered what it would set out to do. But
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to go back through in terms of reference.
In terms of reference and how long the working group will go on, what about a pause and revive it maybe in 6 months?
That's possible. And to pick up what? Have you any suggestions?
Well, review where we are,
Yes,
what's actually
yeah.
happened,
It's a good idea.
which
Yeah.
and also start looking at, because one of the areas that I proposed a little while back with regard to the Moat Park solution was QR codes and information available in location, but that location one will be able, because it's online. You don't need to be in the location. And that potentially is either a separate website, it's an adjunct to the town council website, but it's how we go forward with that. And on the technical side, possibly looking at how the data is managed as well.
I suppose one question I might have around that, hasn't that been commissioned? Are you not reporting into the heritage? And
I will be,
yes.
but there will be a technical aspect as well.
Okay.
In terms of, I think what I'll be reporting to the heritage is essentially the informational aspect, rather than how the information is stored, who stores it, how the links, the URLs work. And I'd be concerned about presenting that, because we will have people saying, I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Okay. So, good idea. Peter?
Just from my point of view, if we go back to the background on the, there is an urgent need to undertake a review of the IT support arrangements, which I think we've done in terms of the managed service and the website. Is the second part, improve the digital communications used by the council to engage with residents of Sandwich. Now that's partly what you've just been talking about there, Simon. We've touched on it in terms of kind of Facebook and so forth, but I don't know if there's more to do on that in terms of looking at the social media policy and stuff like that.
We'll come on to that.
Yeah.
Keep that one in your head. Okay. But don't forget the website.
Yes.
That's a real key enabler.
Yeah, to all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have we got control of that on Facebook page?
Yes, I am told that we do, but I haven't actually had the opportunity yet to explore the situation.
Right, okay, so just going through the scope, so we're going to review the existing IT services contract. We've done that. Service levels, we've had some conversations with David Shaw, as we know. The assets register, well, that is underway, not quite finished yet, but that will be done within this time frame. Service improvements, we've had some improvements to the website, certainly. But we're already into a tender exercise, so I think we've done it as much as we could in the time that we had available. We did the user requirements for the tendering exercise. Organising and running a re-tendering exercise, well, that's in the diaries now to be done for both website and the IT support. So this one, agreeing roles and responsibilities and associated training needs to use and maintain the new system. That relates to the website. So that should fall out of the actual new provider, I think.
Yes.
And the 365.
365, yeah. Digital communications. Yes, been doing that. We've reviewed both. User requirements, we completed that. Captured them, yes. did identify providers and they have been written to, so we've got the tender exercise underway. Looking at live streaming, yes, that's made really good progress. Social media policy. I've got one that I prepared earlier. In my excitement as a new councillor, I sat down for a few days and I did a social media policy, so I've got one already done.
Right.
So I'll ask you, what would you like me to do next?
I have draft one as well.
Fantastic.
So
Shall I
maybe we
send,
can,
do you want to see
well,
mine?
maybe
I
we
can
can
see
compare.
yours.
Yes.
Can we all compare?
I think to some extent, I'd be happy for this just to be handed across to the town clerk. I don't think necessarily you need a working group per se, if you're happy to accept it, and I can just send you the document I've done,
Yes.
and then you can
Yes.
Go
use it, compare
Because
it.
I have a whole raft of policies that I'm queuing,
Yes.
and I don't want it to be death by policy at
No.
a meeting when there are
No.
50 to look at. So I will be introducing them, but that is one of the top, along with the code of conduct, which will be on the 21st of August.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. So if I send you that across after this meeting, Jill, then then you can decide how you want to play it. I presume, a social media policy will still need to go into the councillor arena for approval.
Yes. So all the policies, as it stands at the moment, do go to STC, because there isn't a committee at the moment delegated with that
Authority.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it in terms of the scope of what we
Okay.
agreed. So I think we're sort of 80% there.
Yeah, I do think though, in terms of how we proceed, we've obviously got one tender running and another tender about to go out.
Yeah.
We need to do some homework before the tenders come in.
Yes, we do.
We then need to be involved in the evaluation of the bids and making recommendations. So I think, whilst I'd quite like to turn the tap off and say let's reconvene in 6 months, when I think we've got ongoing responsibilities that we need to take care of. Which might mean that we don't need to meet as frequently as we have been doing and just meet on an as-needs basis.
Yeah, but it opens the door in terms of looking at the timeline of, because we are driven obviously by higher level meetings.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the evaluation documents and also polishing off the tender document, we would need to meet next week. Because the lead in time to enabling the town council to be given those two documents for information means that they need to be ready at the start of the week after.
Yes.
So I just want to check your availability for next week. What days work?
The only day
Yeah, I'm here
I
all
can't
week.
do is Tuesday.
Okay. So if we could, if I look to
Oh no, sorry, not Monday either. Not Monday or Tuesday.
Factor in the 3 clear days, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
So if I get the agenda out tomorrow, we can't have the meeting before Thursday next week.
So should we meet next Thursday?
Yeah, let's meet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So I'll quickly, so I need to get you the agenda by close tomorrow.
Yes, please.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, please.
17th.
But that's a confidential meeting.
It is a confidential meeting.
And can we please make that 6:30 again, because the
Yes.
Guildford Square Working Group is likely to be meeting at 5 p.m.
Oh great, I've got the evening
Oh,
meetings.
what, next Thursday?
Yeah, I got that wrong because I was here at 5.
Yes.
Yes. Today.
It was wrong. I was
Why
wrong.
is it meeting so early? Does that mean that I can, no chance, I've got no chance of meeting today?
Well, it was a suggested time. I haven't had it confirmed, obviously, because I haven't got the agenda out yet. But if we want to have this meeting on the same evening, it doesn't present a problem. Unless, I don't know, I could have a conversation to see if the Guildford Square Working Group could meet at 7, and this one maybe 6 p.m.
But they won't.
Oh, it is 6,
No.
I'll get the earliest I can get is 6.
After 6.
So I think we go with 6:30 for this
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be about to leave before 8.
Yeah.
Whichever
Yes.
meeting.
And I think the Guildhall Square, unfortunately, you won't be able to make it. Because either way, you won't be able to make one of them.
Yeah.
I prefer yours ours.
Yeah,
Okay, any other business?
Not from me, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well
We'll
done.
meet again next week.
Thank you.